right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. You know, one of my fond memories of being a dad when my son was way younger was reading to him. And one of my son's favorite books was called How Spider Saved Santa Bug, I think. And it was just such a silly book, and yet my son loved it. I think I must have read that 100 times or more. And reading to our children is such a cool way to bond with them, and it's a cool way to interest them in reading. And of course, they then begin to, in my son's case, he could recite the book even before he could literally read. And it is just such a great way to introduce our children and the young people in our lives to the whole idea that reading is an awesome skill to be able to have. Stephan Pastis is on the phone. He is an attorney and a cartoonist and an author. He's, of course, an advocate to instill children in a lifelong interest in reading, which I guess most intelligent Americans are. I guess we're mostly advocates for good education for our children. He's a New York Times bestselling author, and his book is just so much fun. It is called Timmy Failure. Now look what you've done. And in true attorney form, he's got so many things in here that just, as I read it, knowing that he was an attorney, I said, I see the attorney coming out in him. So let's go to the phone and say good morning to Stephan Pastis. Stephan, am I saying your name right? Good morning, Stephan.
Good morning. How are you? Yes, you're saying it perfectly.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the air. Where are you right now?
I'm in Northern California, a little bit north of San Francisco.
My goodness. Well, thank you for getting up early to be with us. And but so those fires we're hearing about, they're way down in San Diego. You're not being affected by them, right?
Right. That's about 500 miles away. We're such a huge state.
Yeah. Are
you seeing the smoke from it?
No.
No. Okay.
So how did this happen for you? Do you have children? Is that how you ended up writing a book like this?
Yeah, I do. You know, I was a lawyer for 10 years in San Francisco, and I didn't like it. So I would always draw at nights and on weekends in the hopes of getting syndicated. And one of the syndicates liked a strip I created called Pearls Before Swine. So I was able to quit being a lawyer in 2002 and just make my living from the comic strip, which is now in about 700 papers around the U.S. And about 3 years ago, I was approached to do a kid's book. And I do have two young kids. Well, they're not so young anymore, but and I thought, wow, that would be great. So they asked if I would do a book sort of in the style of Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Big Nate, which more or less means that the text is interspersed with little cute drawings. So I thought that sounds like a great idea, so I created this little Timmy Failure character.
And it starts with a prologue that will most likely make sense later, and you talk about a polar bear clogging up a water slide.
Yeah, Timmy's he's a little boy detective, but unlike all other little kid detectives in literature, Timmy cannot solve anything. He's not smart. As I like to say, Timmy can take any mystery and make it a little more mysterious. And he has a big giant polar bear as a business partner. The polar bear's name is Total, and Total and Timmy Failure together form the detective agency known as Total Failure Inc.
Oh my goodness! So why go there? Why did you take that direction and kind of focus on that? It's funny. Maybe is that the answer because it's funny?
Yeah, that was it, because in all those kids' books like Encyclopedia Brown and Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, those kids are always so smart and they can solve anything. So I thought, it'd be a lot of fun to have a little kid who was not smart at all and could not solve anything. So,
oh, my goodness. One of the chapters is titled, There's a Place in France Where the Wedgie I'll Surpass. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a hand mouthful right there. The wedgies, huh?
Doesn't that come from that kid's little rhyme you said when you were a kid? There's a place in France where the naked women dance.
Yeah,
something like that. In the case of Timmy, his enemy, the acronym for her is the wedgie. Boy, I forget what it even stands for now. But yeah, wedgie also meaning what kids do to each other when they pull their underwear up so hard.
Right.
I think we've all experienced that.
It's funny. Everybody knows what a wedgie is, right? Everybody knows. I don't even if it's in the dictionary, I'd be surprised what it says in the definition. So in writing the book, how did you test it? I mean, did you have children that you read it to, and were you looking for laughs? Were you trying to make a point in at all in the book?
Yeah, I really, I had a great advantage in that I had 2 young kids. So not only did I have them read it, I had them read it while I was sitting next to them, which they loved. I'm saying that sarcastically. I sat there and I waited to see where they laughed. And when they did laugh, I'd say, "Well, what was the funny part?" And they would tell me, and they hated being interrupted, as anybody would. But that way, it told me which chapters were tight and which chapters needed more laughs, because when I wrote it, that was the goal, to make kids laugh. This whole genre of books, Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Big Nate and mine, the goal is to get these kids to laugh, because once you can get them to laugh, between the drawings and the text, you sort of have them hooked. And at that age, that's really important, because they call them reluctant readers. Kids 7 to 12, they have so many other things they could do in their life. So when you write a book for that age group, you really have to keep their attention, and getting them to laugh is one way to do it.
Yeah, no question about it. Now let me ask you this: if you were to take public transportation, which I don't, because we live in a small town and I don't really need to, but when you take public transportation, which I have when I was up in New York or any bigger area, the likelihood of seeing somebody in a bus or on the subway holding a book was commonplace, and kids would be holding books. But nowadays they're holding iPads and Kindles and phones and everything else. And I'm wondering, as far as children is concerned, I know that I think Amazon has a Kindle for children out there, and I don't know what do you. I feel like I'm old fashioned in thinking that we should make sure kids have books instead of electronic devices, but maybe, see, you're looking at me funny.
I disagree.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not. I don't have an opinion. I'm leaning toward the books. What do you think?
I think the important part is that they read. So whether that be on an electronic device like the Kindle or a physical book, as long as they read, to me is what's important. Because unlike when we were kids, nowadays when you're 10. Man, you have 1,000 things that you could be, between video games and 1,000 cable channels and the internet. You have 1,000 things to distract you. And, we didn't have that many options when we were a kid. So when you write one of these books, it's really important that you keep them engaged. I mean, you really have to hook them with the humor. And being that, my career has been for 12 years drawing a comic strip that is supposed to make people laugh, at least. I felt like this kind of genre was sort of perfect for me. And also, when you're a cartoonist, you do a little bit of drawing and a little bit of writing, and effectively, that's what these books are.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. In the electronic world, is because I read a lot of newspapers online, and so I don't see comic strips that much anymore. In fact, I don't see them at all anymore. Is Timmy versus Pearls surviving in spite of that?
Yeah, it's always the challenge.
I'm sorry, Pearls before swine. I said the wrong name.
Yeah, the newspaper. No, I understood. The newspaper industry is definitely not what it was 10 years ago. But yeah, as I say, it's in 700 newspapers. There are still a lot of people out there, and thank God for them, that really enjoy the tactile experience of holding a newspaper, whether it be in a cafe or when they, in the bathroom or out on the deck or whatever. The physical newspaper is something that still appeals to a lot of people. So
I think that's the same thing with books.
So
right. So yes, go ahead.
Is Timmy Failure on the ebook?
Yeah, it's on ebooks and the physical book. So nowadays, whenever you come out with anything, you really have to have it across all the different platforms, for sure.
But I guess if I was going to buy this as a gift, I would rather hand the child the book and not say, hey, here's a code so you can download it onto your Kindle.
Right. That's my preference, too. I'm I love the holding of the book. I like everything about it, how it feels, the smell of the pages. I'm definitely old school like you, but yeah, I'm the same.
Tell me about the book itself, Timmy Failure. Now look what you've done. Is it one story or is it a collection of stories?
It's one story. It's the second volume in a series. The first book came out last year. It was called Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made. And it's a continuation of the story of Timmy, this boy who tries to solve all of these mysteries and is not smart at all, and so he can't solve anything. He's with his polar bear partner. He doesn't have the greatest home life in the world, but he does have a great imagination that sort of rescues him from all of that. His best friend is kind of a round boy named Rolo Tukas. And his enemy is Karina.
Yeah.
Or a Bob Dylan song. No kid will understand that reference, but that's her name.
Okay, all right. And I was mispronouncing it in my head wrong. I was calling it Karina. The part in the intro where I said there's evidence that you have been an attorney in your life, the footnotes. There's a page here. Let me just read the page. First, not one person likes Karina. Second, she has never solved a case. And third, she has the ethics of an organ grinder's monkey. And then you drew a picture of an organ grinder and a monkey. Moreover, a number of pertinent details have been left out. Namely, Karina is the subject of hundreds of ethics complaints that have been filed with the Better Detective Bureau. There's the attorney in you. And number two, she is a felon. And then you have the footnote that says, number one, I have filed all of them. Number two, she once stole my failure mobile, though the police claim I parked it in the red zone and it got towed away. That account is pure propaganda. So that's why I said, as I'm reading the book, okay, this guy was an attorney. Or is. I thought you were still.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that until you read it to me. Yeah, that totally is where that comes from. The other thing I didn't realize until, I did this big book tour where I went to all these schools, and they give kids vocabulary tests sort of based on the book. And part of the reason they do it is because the book, I do throw in, words now and then that in context will make sense to the kid, but I'm trying to get them to stretch their vocabulary a little bit. It's like, for example, when I was a little kid and I read the comic strip Peanuts, I mean, that's where I learned the word philosophy and psychology.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think my vocabulary was also improved by reading comics. And in fact, the word organ grinder without the illustration would have confused me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a problem.
In fact,
make it simple.
In fact, I'm wondering how many children look at the box that the man is cranking and realize that's an organ.
That's true.
It is a fun book. Now let's talk a little bit about Children's Book Week. That started 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, right. I think it's in its 95th year. And,
wow.
The idea of it is just to get kids to read. Bookstores, schools, libraries all across the country put on these events, and yeah, it's great. When I was a little kid, I was a big reader, and a big part of it was sort of the programs that my library put on, especially during the summer. They would offer incentives, for kids that read 30 books, 40 books, 50 books, and I love that. And if you get that habit when you're young of reading, it really sticks with you for a lifetime. I mean, I'm still, a big reader now.
And what kind of books, and when you were a kid, what kind of books were you attracted to?
Well, it all started with a Peanuts comic strip book, but then I gravitated towards C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and all those books. And another great one was called How to Eat Fried Worms, which I thought was wonderful. And yeah, I liked it. And then when I got a little bit older in my teens, boy, I really gravitated towards an author named Kurt Vonnegut. He had a huge influence on me.
Okay. And are you going to go in that direction in your other writings, or are you going to stay with this genre?
I'll stay with this genre for a while. There's definitely more Timmy books to come. The third book, which is called We Meet Again, comes out in October. So, and I love it. It's a great break from the comic strip, and I'm lucky in that the book has done really well. So. That enables me to keep writing them, which is always fun.
And if you have any say-so, ask the people who put the website versions of the newspapers together to include the comic strips on the websites. I don't understand why the New York Times has a New York Times website, but there's no comic page.
boy, the New York Times has never run comics. I know it's such a bummer for all of us, but like the Washington Post does, and it's on their website as well. So it depends on the paper. But yeah, the Times is such a huge one. That and USA Today have never run comics, not in the physical edition either. So
okay,
yeah,
I said the wrong one. The Daily News, though, the Daily News had a comic page.
The Daily News does, and I am in that one, and that's great. Yes.
Okay, but I can't remember if their website has one or not.
I don't know. Log on and see.
Not sure. So we want to remember to celebrate Children's Book Week, which is happening right now. What's next for you? I mean, yeah, so you've got 3 books. This is the first of the 3, the one that I'm holding?
Are you holding the one with the blue cover?
Yes.
That is the
Number
second
2.
book. So the first one
it says
was
right on
called Mistakes Were Made. Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made. That came out last year. And the second one is the one you're holding called Now Look What You've Done. And the third one is the one in October called We Meet Again. So, so next is to write the 4th book, which I will do later in the summer. And it's great, too, because it's such a break from the comic. You know, I take 7 weeks off, and I do nothing but write the book. And fortunately, I'm so far ahead in the comic strip that I have that luxury to be able to take those weeks off. And you also need that time off, too, for the book tours. You know, I went to, I must have gone to 30 cities in February and March just touring around the country.
Oh, really?
You know, reading Timmy to kids.
Anywhere close to around here?
Yeah, boy. But I was in South Florida in Coral Gables, and then I was on the Gulf Coast in Fort Myers, and I was in Atlanta. And then, get this, here's the greatest part of the tour. A school had me come down to speak to them in the Cayman Islands. How great is that?
Oh, wow. That is kind of cool.
I mean, you poor guy. It must have been rough.
Do you know, I want to talk to you about something, Stephan. If you look at old comics, sometimes that were intended for children, sometimes the writers of those comics would throw in this covert adult humor that the kids wouldn't get. And even The Simpsons does this a lot. And I guess we could argue that The Simpsons isn't really for children, but like Bugs Bunny and a lot of those old ones had these innuendos and things like that. Nowadays, I don't think you can get away with that. So do you govern yourself in that regard, or do you have a wife or a friend who says, you know, that's a little bit adult there? I don't think you should use that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have an editor who would stop me for doing that. But, you know, you can do things in a 2-track way effectively, not in the dirty sense, but just in the sense that here's something that would appeal more to adults. So, you know, Pixar films will do that. As an adult might see a reference that the kids won't get, but it doesn't matter if the kid misses it because the story still makes sense. So in the case of Timmy Failure, what I do is I do it in the book titles, not the book titles, the chapter titles. It'll either be like a Bob Dylan song title or a Talking Heads song title, and I know that the kid won't get it, but he doesn't have to. But for the parent reading Timmy Failure to the kids, they will look at that and they'll go, oh, yeah, that's such and such. So I have an eye on the adults as I write for the kids. So I sort of try to do both.
The Elton John reference in chapter 45, sorry seems to be the hardest word to say to a 1,500-pound Arctic mammal.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah, it is definitely a fun book, and it is funny. I was also a fan of Peanuts, but I will tell you, and Charles Schultz, forgive me, but I don't think I've ever laughed out loud at one panel. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I found it amusing and interesting and fun to read, but I don't remember laughing out loud at Charlie Brown. I laughed.
Definitely, it hits you on a deeper level, I think, sometimes.
Yeah,
I think the run he had from 1955 to 65, that little 10-year stretch, was probably the best stretch that any cartoonist ever had, with the possible exception of Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes. That was on par with that. But boy, I'll tell you, that old Peanuts from 55 to 65, that had the biggest influence on every cartoonist in my generation of anything.
Did you laugh out loud? Did you laugh out loud when you read it?
Yeah, sometimes I did. Sometimes I did, but it wasn't a slapstick sort of strip. It was more of an adult tone, which I think is what a lot of us appreciated, because before Peanuts, comic strips were real slapstick, and Peanuts really made that a lot more sophisticated and dry, and so it's a different kind of comic.
I thought there was a lot of LSD involved with the dancing.
There might have been LSD as well.
It was 55.
Timmy Failure is the book. Now look what you've done. I have a copy of it. Stephan Pastis wrote the book. I will give it away. If you have a young reader in your family, you'll get a kick out of reading it with your young person, or having your young person read it out loud to you. If you're going on a road trip, which I know some of you are planning, this is a great thing to take along, and the batteries aren't necessary. So I have a copy of the book. It's just a book, in other words. Stephan, do you want to give us some websites so the rest of us can go buy it?
Yeah, sure. Just go to timmyfailure.com. Timmyfailure.com, or if you go on Amazon and you put in Timmy Failure, you'll see it there, and it's in your local bookstore as well.
And see, as you say that, even though I was saying I was opposed to the ebook, I'm thinking about getting the ebook version of this.
Yeah, see, it's good to have both.
But I'm not a kid.
Well, kids can. I'm with you. I like the tactile sensation, but in today's modern world, I can fit 400 books on a tablet.
Well,
I can't fit them in the car on a road trip.
But
yeah, I'll tell you something. When you travel as much as I do, that ebook reader, it's like holding all of your library with you wherever you go, and it takes up no space. That part is a big advantage.
You know, that's the biggest advantage.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just thinking for kids, for children. This is what age group would you call this? This is not little children. This is what, 10-year-old, 12-year-old?
It's for 7 to 12. Yeah,
7 to 12.
Sweet spot, 7 to 12.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. Fun interview. Again, the book is called Timmy Failure. Now look what you've done. And timmyfailure.com is the website. Get it on Amazon and anywhere else. Great books are sold. Stephan, if you're ever in the area, we'd love to see you here in the studio.
Oh, that'd be so much fun. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Hey, thank you, Stephan. Appreciate it.
Fun interview. All right. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, The Source.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front-end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala Restore at 926 Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give us a call at 401-0075 and we'll come pick it up. For more information, visit ocalarestore.org. Habitat for Humanity of Marion County. Building homes, building hope, building community.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
When a woman quits her career to have kids, she's typically leaving during her highest earning years. In a case of divorce, she should be compensated for what she gave up. Instead of a day off, plan a stop day, a day when we completely cease all labors and relax. The longest amount of time both of you can be silent before the moment becomes officially awkward, 4 seconds.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Yeehaw! Howdy, folks. RL here to invite you to DQ. Dairy Queen is serving the crispiest, juiciest, most tasty chicken tenders, all beef chili dogs, and quarter-pound cheeseburgers on earth. And you get crispy fries, a drink, and an ice cream sundae of your choice for only $5. Remember, at DQ, you can lick their cones, but you can't beat their shakes. Dairy Queen, Silver Springs, where they always treat you like kings and queens.
Your official news source, WOCA.
This is James Snyder inviting you to join me each Sunday morning at 9:30 for Sunday Joy, right here on WOCA 1370.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A desperate search for survivors underway in one of the worst mining disasters in Turkey's history. Nearly 240 confirmed dead, more than 100 thought to still be trapped underground.
The latest word from officials on the scene, quote, hopes are diminishing in terms of this being a rescue operation, referring to finding those folks underground alive.
Fox's Leland Fittert. There's violence in Nigeria against extremists.
Villagers from a town in northeastern Nigeria say they've killed or arrested dozens of members of the terrorist group Boko Haram. That's the Islamist militant group that kidnapped the hundreds of schoolgirls last month. According to a security official, the residents attacked 2 trucks loaded with gunmen.
Fox Radio's Kimberly Adams. And U.S. producer prices, that's the price companies receive for their goods and services, jumping for the second straight month, pushing the annual rate to a 2-year high. Fox News, we report, you decide.
They say every healthy relationship should have a balance of predictability and spontaneity. In fact, it is that assurance of security that makes the spontaneous possible. Your relationship with your car should be a little like that too. With our new industry-leading unlimited mileage warranty, your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz instills a sense of confidence. You drive away knowing that you can keep driving for up to 3 years and never have to worry about the miles. Add to that our new complimentary prepaid maintenance on select models, and your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz becomes the ultimate carefree escape vehicle. Only during the Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned Sales event, going on now through June 2nd, can you also take advantage of a 2-month payment credit on many models, plus 3 months of Sirius XM satellite radio. So hurry in today. It might just be the most predictable, spur-of-the-moment decision you've ever made.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified.
This is a public notice. Local residents can now save thousands of dollars on their next car, truck, or SUV. It's not a tent sale, because no tent is big enough to hold this many cars. It's OcalaForSale.com. Say goodbye to sticker shock. OcalaForSale.com has thousands of vehicles with no stickers at all. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge, undercutting, less proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website.